Hello. So I wanted to make this video just to give people a little overview of the most effective therapy treatments for postpartum depression. My name's Lauren Linford. I'm a clinical psychologist and I specialize in pregnancy and postpartum. And I just wanted this to be sort of a jumping off point overview for someone who recognizes that they have postpartum depression and they want to just start getting help. Now, I'm not going to be talking about medications in this video. I do have another video on that, so I'll be linking that here. But as a side note, it is a really exciting time for medication in postpartum depression. Just in the last couple of years, some really exciting treatments have come out. So I'm excited to go over those in my other video, which you can check out. Both medication and therapy can be super effective for postpartum depression, and both serve different purposes, but I'm just gonna be focusing on the therapy piece in this video. So just to start out, let's just talk about prevalence of postpartum depression. 17% of pregnancies end in postpartum depression. That's almost 1 in 5. So this is quite common. And I just want you to know that if you're here, if you have postpartum depression or you think you have postpartum depression, please know that you're in the right place, that there is effective help and treatments for you. And please reach out to your OB or other healthcare provider so that you can access that help. I want this to just be a jumping off point for you to be able to reach out for that help. So in this video, I'm going to be highlighting the 2 most evidence-based treatments. There's a deer behind me. Anyway, I'm going to be covering the 2 main evidence-based treatments for postpartum depression. And when I say evidence-based, I mean treatments that have tons of research to back them up, have been heavily studied, so we know they're effective. And those treatments are cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, and interpersonal therapy, or IPT. So before you start therapy for postpartum depression, know those are the ones that we know are effective. And when you're going out and finding a therapist, I think it's really important to understand that not all therapy is created equal. Some therapists are just out there doing basic talk therapy that doesn't really have a structure, and that is great in certain situations. There are so many situations where that's exactly what you need. However, for postpartum depression, I tend to lean towards the evidence-based, the things that we know are effective, and that's your CBT and your IPT. So let's start with CBT, what that is, what to expect when you're going to a therapist to do CBT. So the central idea behind CBT is that our thoughts, our feelings, and our behaviors are all connected. They all affect each other. So by changing one of those, by changing either our thoughts or our behaviors, we can help ourselves feel better, i.e. less depressed. And in CBT, there's this central idea that our negative thoughts and behaviors are driven by these deeper negative core beliefs. So core beliefs are a belief that is sort of under the surface, almost subconscious. And the negative thoughts that we have stem from those core beliefs. However, our core beliefs are not necessarily something that you're conscious of or you're actually thinking. So for example, your core belief might be that I'm unlovable, but you're not necessarily actually thinking the thought that I'm unlovable. You're having all these thoughts that come secondary to that core belief. And the thoughts that you have that are secondary to that negative core belief lead you to engage in negative behaviors as well. So the interesting thing about core beliefs is that they color your interpretation of situations. So say you're a postpartum mom, you're at home, and no one's checked on you for a week. Because you have this core belief of I'm unlovable, you have the thought, no one cares about me. And then because you have that thought, you feel more depressed and you isolate instead of reaching out for help. Whereas if you had a healthy core belief of I am worthy of love, then when that situation happens, you don't have that negative automatic thought. Instead, you think, oh, people are busy, but I'm still cared about. And the feeling that you have is instead of more depressed, you might feel disappointed, but you understand that you are cared about and loved, and you might reach out for help. So that's kind of that cycle of how negative core belief leads to negative automatic thoughts, leads to negative behaviors, leads to depression. And those things sort of are in this reinforcing cycle. So CBT really focuses on 1, identifying your negative core belief that's driving your postpartum depression, 2, identifying the negative thoughts that stem from that core belief, challenging and changing them. And 3, helping you to break out of the negative behaviors that are further driving that depressed cycle. The first step to practicing CBT is recording your thoughts. So I just wanted to let you know about my free thought record that you can download. It's in the description. So that is CBT, super effective treatment. It's been highly studied, more than any treatment for postpartum depression or depression in general, and just a great place to start for depression treatment. The second treatment I want to talk to you about is called Interpersonal Therapy, IPT. And IPT has also been heavily studied specifically for postpartum depression. And I'll tell you what, as a psychologist, being in the therapy room with my clients, trying to do CBT does not always work. And here's why. Because so much of the time when someone has postpartum depression, much of the time their depression is driven by those negative core beliefs and negative thoughts. But much of the time it's not. It's driven by a lack of support system, by conflict in the relationship, just not feeling supported. So that is a great situation where IPT would be really effective. CBT is really good when you have lots of negative thoughts and not lots of destructive behavioral patterns. IPT is really good when you're struggling with the transition of identity into motherhood, when you feel like you don't have a support system. And then medication is really helpful when it's more hormonal or physiologically driven. Just a side note there. So IPT. IPT really focuses on 1, interpersonal disputes. So when there is a conflict in the relationship between the parents, helping to align parents. It's really good at 2, helping the mother transition into the role and identity of motherhood. When that is, there might be some grieving and loss of your old life and what that used to look like. It's also good for grief in general, things like pregnancy loss. And the other primary focus of IPT is helping the mother to develop an effective and healthy support system. So that is IPT. It has been studied in both individual delivery as well as group delivery for postpartum and has been found to be very effective. So when you are looking for an effective therapy treatment for postpartum depression, those are the 2 to look for, which depending on which of those sounds like it would be appropriate for you, you should talk it over with your healthcare provider. CBT and IPT. Now I also have a video for how to find a really good therapist, and you can watch that here. I hope this video was helpful for you. If it was, and you want to join me on more of my Sunday walks while I record videos, feel free to like this video and subscribe. Thanks for watching.